welcome back to my bathroom. Let's talk about being more free in our sketchbooks, why my sketching keeps leading me astray, and what I'm going to be doing to get through that, because this period's a little bit frustrating. As always with this Peachtober video, it's going to make more sense if you've watched the last ones, or at least the previous one to this one if you don't want to watch the whole series. Assuming you have watched that one, or you're just going to do your own thing, that's cool. Let's get into it. Peachtober, day 7. The prompt was bug, and I didn't really feel like drawing any bugs, though now, in retrospect, I do have some ideas I'm pretty excited about for the prompt, but that's okay. We'll do those another day. So I thought I would draw a sketch that's been in my head for a while that is actually going to be more complicated, and it's going to have birds and not bugs, but I thought I'd just test it out with some bugs and simplify it for my sketchbook. So, because I explained this in my last video, that many ideas I just never get around to creating, I usually try when I'm excited about one to actually honor that and try and create it. So, even though it's not the idea I had in mind, it's not birds, I thought I'd still try and do it. So, with this one, I wanted to stay super loose with my sketch because, referring to my last video, I just really want to have fun creating, and let me tell you, I had a lot of fun creating this one. I really love the colors I used, and I swear I say this in every video, but honestly, every sketch I do introduces me to a new color palette, and sometimes that's all a sketch needs to be, a way to experiment with something new. For example, a long time ago, actually not that long ago, like the beginning of quarantine, I sketched out this little piece that I don't really love this page so much. However, it inspired me to sort of match those colors on the next page, which led to one of my favorite pieces in my sketchbook right now. Long story short, I really like the color scheme I used. I like the way I did the water. I like the way I did the clouds. I like how they almost don't look like water or clouds. And if they were alone, you probably wouldn't recognize them as what they are, but it together in the whole picture, it sort of fills in the blanks to make it more obvious that they are water and clouds. And I think that's really cool, and I'd like to take advantage of that more in my art in the future. I do not, however, like the face, the body, or the bugs. The proportions feel kind of off, the face looks kind of weird, and the bugs look kind of lazy. The whole piece just feels stiff, and once again, I feel like my favorite things in this piece were the things I did without sketching. The clouds, the colors, the water, that was all just drawn loosely and figured out on the fly, which leads me to assume that my sketching is what's leading me astray. The parts I love more about the sketch are the parts I created freely, and as much as I love that I can create pieces freely and love the process and love the end results, I would actually like to be able to translate images in my head, ones with more specific layouts and more sure visions, but, moving on. Day 8. Day 8 was prize, and honestly, I didn't feel like drawing prize yet because I had no ideas. So, for me, day 8 was rainbow. So, day 8 was rainbow, and to be honest, I had some other ideas for the prompt, but after day 7, I really just wanted to allow myself to draw freely and see what comes about. So, I can sort of see what's different in my process and what I like about the piece. So my plan was to allow myself to reacquaint with the innocence of creating art, take away the pressures of not having an exact plan, and just create. So what I did was I went through all the colors in my watercolor palette, all the colors of the rainbow, and I painted with watercolor, no sketching, the first things that came to mind. So red cherries, a vintage old orange telephone because I had seen a photo of one, yellow submarine, green plants, blue water. I slowly added each small detail to the page, trying to consider how I could join them together, but really just, placing them down and thinking about that part later. And I'm going to be honest with you, the piece went through an ugly phase, but I was just having so much fun. My process was kind of different here than usual. I freely allowed myself to color with the paint, which I do often. Sometimes, I just, like I've said this before, I just sketch with watercolor paint. Then I went in with more detailed lines, but where it changes was then I added on more color freely and added on more lines, and I kept going till I figured out the piece. Like, I was really figuring it out as I went along. And to be honest with you, I really built up this final image that I like. It's different from a lot of the other pieces in my sketchbook, but honestly, it's probably one of my new favorite pages, which is so exciting because it's been a while since I've created a new favorite page or a new favorite piece. I feel like it looks loose, it doesn't look stiff, it looks confident, not like I was scared to create or mistranslate my idea, and most of all, it looks fun and it looks free. I think this is where I struggle a lot with my art. I want very defined lines, I want to translate my exact ideas, I want concise, clean-looking final pieces, but then I also want looseness and freedom and messiness, which right now I'm having a really hard time combining. However, I'm starting to think the best way that I could do this is I'll create a sketch for the piece of art just as free as possible, the way I sketched this one out, and then I could trace over it like I was with the detailed line work and use that as my sketch for a final piece, not go into it with a different sketching process than I usually use. Like I'd never sit down with a pencil and get so particular over details when I sketch in my sketchbook. So, later on, if I do this, I could always piece together things or alter stuff that was messed up because I was drawing loosely. But I think my sketches should be loose, innocent, pressure-free, and most of all, they should be fun. Day 9. I am almost out of fingers to keep up with the Peachtober days. Day 9 was now prize, and I literally had zero ideas for this day for so long until the morning of, where I thought of something that not only really excited me, but an idea I actually really loved and want to create a final piece of now because I can't stop generating new ideas for final pieces that I don't feel ready to create. It came from this little phrase that I just thought up in the morning, which is, will you take the future behind curtain number 1 or curtain number 2? Deciding it would be better to try and implement what I learned yesterday, I wanted to be free with my art. So I decided to just let myself paint it out. No pressure, just try and translate as close as possible to what was in my head. And if it doesn't turn out close to what was in my head, the worst thing that happens is now I know I need to work on refining the vision that I had, I decided to use a black ink stick, the same ink I featured in an older video, to try and kind of contrast how bright the left page was. To be honest with you, I kind of ended up getting distracted and just enjoyed using the ink I started drawing out these sheep instead, but I really like those sheep. They're probably my favorite part of the page, and I think that's maybe, that's what art's about. It's drawing when and what you feel like drawing, and hopefully you want to draw every day, and you shouldn't, you shouldn't choke the ideas that you have because, we're just trying to push ourselves to create in general. I want to be excited to use mediums, and I was really vibing with this ink, and I discovered I really like the look of the colored pencils, or at least maybe a colored line art, which I've never used before, with the black ink, because I think the colored line art looks pretty cool with the desaturated grays. I didn't translate this piece as I had it in my head, but unlike the first days, I really didn't expect to translate it like I had in my head, so I'm not disappointed. I actually like this page, and though it mostly is because of those sheep, which I don't think matters, what does sheep have to do with the prompt prize? Nothing really, but what is Peachtober or Inktober all about? It's getting yourself to create every day and improve every day, and it's not about staying close to the prompt, so it doesn't matter if my favorite part of the page is the sheep, at least I drew the sheep. I know my sketching needs to improve so I can translate the more complicated ideas that don't just flow naturally, and I will spend more time working on it in the next few days. But I also need to learn how to sketch lines loosely because when I outline something I already loosely painted in watercolor, I always like that piece better. Like if I just loosely sketch no lines in watercolor and then go and outline what I created, I always think the line art looks cooler than, when I sketched it out previously. So I'm working on that. Right now, I'm quite pleased with this final spread, and it's definitely my favorite spread during Peachtober so far, which is really exciting. It's not my favorite because the pieces are super beautiful or because I translated the ideas in my head, but because there's just so much experimenting, looseness, and obvious fun in the pages that is what I would like to continue in my art. It is confusing though, because I love the look of that innocence in my art that you see in these pages, but I also would love for my art to feel more professional, experienced, and clean, and I don't know how to merge the two yet. So long story short, I once again haven't really found that many answers to my problems in this video, but I do know how to kind of start the journey towards liking my art, my sketching, and my style. So if you're interested to see me embark on that journey, you should probably subscribe because I will continue to post it all here. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see the pieces before they go up, they will be on my Instagram, which you can find in the description of this video. And I will admit, I have fallen slightly behind on the challenge, but I will eventually explain why on here. So stick around to find out. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.